Hi, everyone. Welcome to the TSO Live Talk Show. I am your host, Maya. We're so excited to have you guys here today. Before we get started with the show, I just want to let everybody know what TSO is. TSO is a youth organization based out of Abilene, Texas. We were created to give the teens the forum to speak their views and share their ideas globally and within their community. Um, Also to bring back the remembrance of upholding the Ten Commandments. I cannot think. Hydra, I need you to like jump in. I'm
You can
sorry.
talk, right?
I can't talk.
No,
I'm
you're
sorry.
good. You're good.
Sorry. So basically, like I say every single Monday, don't forget to like, share, and comment, and send to all your friends. Because if you don't, I'm doing it right now because sharing is caring. And we got a lot of good information that we're going to talk about today. We have some updates on what's happening in Sudan with our peaceful protest that was happening in 2019. We're going to be going all over that and where we are at today. Joining us, I have my awesome crew here. Hajir and Arya, it's been so long since we've seen you. How you guys doing?
I've been well. Obviously, we're adjusting to the new, or the lack of COVID restrictions, and I've been working a lot. I just graduated high school, which is really monumental, and I'm very excited to move on to the next chapter. And yeah, I've just been in a much better place mentally. I feel like the world is kind of starting to return to normalcy or whatever our new normal is, and that has been
Mm-hmm.
really beneficial for me.
Yeah. And we didn't do your announcement for you because we were waiting for you to come on and actually tell us where you're going. So share with the TSO family where you are going and about your scholarship.
Okay, so I'm very, very excited to announce that I will be attending Washington University in St. Louis, also known as WashU. I'm on a full ride academic scholarship, so I'm so excited. It was a very difficult choice to make just because I did have the privilege of receiving a full ride to WashU, Notre Dame, and the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, as well as over $1.8 million in merit scholarships.
Holy moly.
So So yeah, it was a very difficult choice to make, but I'm sure I made the right one. I am so excited to, like I said, start that new chapter.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. We're so glad that you're part of the TSO family and watching you grow. And now you're gonna be starting college. It's gonna be super exciting. We're only like what is it, like 8 hours? No, hold on, pause. I think it was only like 12 hours.
Yeah,
12
away
hours
from
away. So
Pennsylvania.
Nigeria, we can hop in your car because my car. So we'll hop in
Oh
your
my goodness.
we'll hop in your car to go see
I
Arya.
just want to say I am extremely proud of you,
Oh,
Arya.
Thank
I
you.
look at you just like Malaz. You both make me so proud.
Thank
And, just for anyone out there who's trying to make it and pursue their dream, you have Arya as your role model.
mm-hmm.
She is amazing. She's an activist. She's out there, trying to make this world a better place and looking beautiful while doing it
thank you.
and smart. And now, to top it, the cherry on top, you have a full ride scholarship to the college of your dream.
Yeah,
And that just speaks volume about how amazing you are and how well your parent did in raising you
mhm.
and how lucky we are to have you in our life.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
And Hajir, how are you doing? What's going on with the Hajir talk show? I know you had oh, where my brain, Auditor
Your
General on.
Auditor General
Yes,
Timothy D4,
yes, we
he's
had.
a good friend of mine. He's an amazing man, and he's another good role model, as a Black excellence. And
Mm-hmm.
we had him today, and we've been doing good. I'm just tired, stretched to the max, but at least we're enjoying what we're doing.
Right. That's awesome. And don't forget, guys, you can follow the Hajir Talk Show on Facebook along with YouTube as well. All you have to do is type in the Hygier Talk Show. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into our topic today. We do have a special guest, Dr. Netta, on. She was on our show previously in 2019, where we talked about the protests that were happening in 2019. I'm gonna go ahead and bring Dr. Netta up just so that she can introduce herself for all everybody who's watching, who doesn't know her or know what we're gonna be talking about. Yeah. Let me go ahead and ask. Hi, Dr. Netta. How are you?
You are muted.
You are muted.
Well,
Can
I'm
you
really
hear
excited
us?
to be.
There we go.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, it is always refreshing to see your face and to hear your voice. This,
Well, thank
everyone, this
you.
is a woman of steel, if that's, I'm making up things, but
That's
she
okay. We'll
is,
take it.
you
You're
know, out there fighting the good fight with everything, the Sudanese revolution, the COVID, um, teaching, helping us with fighting diseases and just being a good, rounded human being. I love you, Dr. Nada, and I'm so happy to see your face always.
I love you too, Hajar, and I'm really, really glad to be with you guys today. And thank you so much for remembering the revolution and for always keeping that in your minds. And Arya, I just listened to what you have accomplished, and I am so proud of you. It's
Thank you
always
so much.
refreshing to see women of color and girls of color rising up and breaking the glass ceiling, and you have done it. You
Thank
are
you.
amazing.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to meet you.
Yes, I'm just like so. I have goosebumps right now because that's
Oh
one of
my
the things
goodness.
I've done.
Area is
Wait
one
till
of
you
the
hear her
people
talk.
that, oh my God, yes. You know what? Area is every mom's dream, seriously. Her and Malaz are like so similar, and having Malaz in college and now having Area with us here all the time is like, oh my God. I want
Yeah.
every woman, young woman, to be like her. And everyone watching us, go and listen to Aria's show. She is amazing for her age. Oh my God, I want to be you when I grow up too.
Thank you.
Same.
When
That
I
is
become
awesome.
younger.
Well, my daughter is at Mizzou, so she's only 1 hour away from you, Arya. So hopefully we
Yeah,
can meet her one
that's
day.
so cool.
Yes.
So, Dr. Netta, before we get into our topic of what we're talking about today, I want you to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about what you do on a daily basis.
Sure. So my name is Nada Fadol. I am originally from Sudan. Grew up, went to college, medical school, and everything there. And then I moved to the US. I've been here now for 20 years. And I'm a physician. My primary specialty is infectious diseases. And as you can imagine, the past year and a half have been quite busy for us in the
Mm-hmm.
infectious disease world. I'm also Assistant Dean of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at University of Nebraska Medical Center College of Medicine. And my focus is on educating the next generation of physicians on health disparities, structural racism, systemic racism, and why we're seeing people of color and minority populations suffering from all kinds of diseases. So that's my focus area, in addition to my clinical job, which I primarily take care of patients living with HIV
Oh,
and work
wow.
on HIV prevention. And I do a variety of other infectious diseases, of course, COVID-19 being the most prominent one. And I think the audience of this show would probably remember that I was here last year
Mm-hmm.
or the year before as well, talking
Yep.
about the Sudanese revolution, because that's been another area that I've been working on is advocacy and trying to bring attention to the world about what's happening in other countries. So,
Right. So, just thank you for coming back on the show. It's been 2 years since we're on, and last week we touched a little bit on Sudan, where it is right now, and where we are in this journey. And TSO was really hands-on 2019, really spreading the word and doing interviews and getting people involved and educated on what's happening in Sudan. And for everybody who doesn't remember, I think it was like February 19th. I think that's when Al-Bashir declared a state of emergency, and then he banned all protests. And but this, before I go into that, pause. You know, this started 1980s. I did so much research on this, Hydra. You're gonna be so proud of
You
me.
better show off. This girl has spent the whole, maybe, I don't know. They're always, TSO has always been a huge supporter of the Sudanese revolution. And for that, I thank you both, Justin and Maya. And now we have Area. But Maya did her research. Like, she got some stuff that I didn't even know. So go for it, Maya.
Yeah. So we started off in the 1980s. And you are more than welcome to do your own research, TSO family. Go out there and study the history of Sudan. It has been a journey, and this is not just something that started in 2019. And we did touch on that in 2019, but this basically started in the 1980s. And fast forward to 2019, when we had our young people out protesting. And this protest was a peaceful protest. As you can see the pictures on there, it was a really beautiful thing to see all the young people coming together and protesting for peace and freedom. TSO had the pleasure of talking about it. We also had some people come on, including Dr. Netta, and just show the excitement that all of our young people, and predominantly all these people out here that were protesting, were our young adults, our young kids out there protesting for freedom. These pictures that I'm showing right now are from 2019. This is after February the 19th when these pictures were taken. So for everybody, you know, Hydra, if you can jump in, I'm sorry, my mind is not 100% right now. I'm trying to grasp it. If you can basically tell us from 2019 to right now, if you can like bundle it up, and then I'll
You
just...
have the best person to speak.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
Neda. Go for it, Neda.
Oh no, this is the toughest part.
Yeah. There, a lot happened. So just to give a recap.
Yeah, so I think the audience of the show might remember that in April 2019, al-Bashir was ousted, and he was put in jail with the plans to prosecute him down the line for all the crimes that he did.
Yes.
And
April the 11th, to be exact.
April the 11th, yes, absolutely. You got it. And the youth continued to sit in at the military headquarters because all of their asks were not fulfilled yet. Because the ask was not just to take al-Bashir out, but the entire organization that supported him, which was unfortunately became a big part of the military and the security forces, and everyone needed to be held accountable. And al-Bashir's followers were in all avenues of government, controlling the keys to the economy, health sector, and every sector you touch.
Right.
They had the keys of those sectors. So everyone had to be held accountable. So the Jews continued to sit in while the civilians were negotiating with the military what's supposed to be happening and how the transitional period is going to look like. And of course, the military was not going to let go easily because many of them were involved in these crimes that happened in Darfur, and even the ones that happened in the sit-in to the protesters. Right. So the end of that, unfortunately, was very tragic because there was this massive massacre that happened at the sit-in, and it was in the last few days of Ramadan, unfortunately, which is the holy month in Islam, and you're not supposed to do anything bad, let alone kill an innocent soul during that time. Hundreds of people were injured and killed and thrown in the River Nile with their feet and hands tied so they couldn't swim up, and with rocks tied to their feet. It was the most tragic thing in the history that I've never imagined that normal people will be able to do something like this to a living human being. And you have the photos there, which are really hard to look at. Mm-hmm. These bodies were extracted months later, and unfortunately, still some of them are being extracted now. So that led to obviously a major crisis in the country. The negotiations came to a stop. Kids and families were prosecuted or were uh, basically harassed by the security forces. They were not letting people go out in the streets and demonstrate anymore. The sit inside was completely destroyed. And there was just this state of fear and tragedy in the streets of Khartoum, a lot of issues with insecurity in the country. So everyone basically hid in their home, not knowing where the future is going to hold, until the youth basically decided this is enough. We're not going to sit here and wait. We're going to go out and show them that we're not afraid. And that happened on June 30th, where like, I mean, I say millions, I don't really know the number, but there were massive, massive demonstrations that took the world by surprise because everyone thought,
Right.
okay, well, unfortunately, this is, Egypt again, and the military is going to take power, and we're going to go back to square zero. But the youth made it clear that that's not going to happen, and we're not going to let it happen. We're going to die for this cause. That's what we decided to do from the beginning. And that was a clear message to the world that
Mm-hmm.
now it's time for you to step in. It was time to step in like a year ago, but
Right.
nobody did, and they decided to just sit down and watch. And unfortunately, that brought a lot of foreign interest into the country because the revolution in Sudan threatened a lot of regional interests
Right.
in Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, in the UAE. So they were not really willing to let that go very easily. The negotiations resumed and led to a kind of a mediocre agreement between the civilians and the military government, which led to a sovereign council that's comprised of half military, half civilian, and a cabinet, which, the majority of the cabinet is civilian. That's the executive
Right.
branch. The idea was to form a legislative body, basically a parliament, in a few months after that, and that has not yet happened. We're talking about almost 2 years
Right.
since the agreement had been signed, and we still don't have a legislative branch in the government. The military still holds many of the keys that they were holding. Nothing really has changed. The RSF forces have not really been integrated formally into the military. They still hold the keys to a lot of power, a lot of weapons, as well as the gold uh, in the country. Al Burhan, who was implicated in a lot of the crimes in Darfur, is the head of the Sovereign Council. So there's, this is kind of the negative side of the picture. A lot of progress has been made, especially in the foreign relations of the country.
Right.
Sudan was on the US state sponsor of terrorism, and that's no longer the case. Sudan has been lifted as of December. A lot of progress has been made in relationships that were broken with neighboring countries and the international community. So Sudan now is being invited to participate back into the international community. There was this major conference that was held in Paris last month, where Sudan basically brought the case of it being now a good ground for investment and foreign interest, and the debts, which are billions of dollars, have been pretty much lifted from Sudan by the IMF and the World Bank. So that's the good side of the story, but the sad side of the story is that justice has not been served yet, and that's
Right.
why there's a lot of resentment on Sudanese streets. The youth are pretty bummed and deflated, and they just feel like they gave a lot for nothing. Because what they were asking for, if you remember, there were three things, right? Freedom, peace,
Freedom.
and justice,
Yep.
right? Exactly, you got it there. So we have some freedom, not 100% freedom, because, as I said, there's still a lot of militias, especially in Darfur. They're attacking innocent civilians on a regular basis. Every few weeks, you hear of an attack that happened to a refugee camp or a village in Darfur. There is definitely freedom of press. We've seen a lot of progress there, but a lot of the channels, the governmental channels, have not really been very progressive as we expected them to be,
Right.
and we were asking. Peace. There was a peace agreement that was signed, but we haven't really seen the result of that. And we could argue that it's too early. It's going to take a lot to prepare what was destroyed over 30 years. So there is some progress there for sure. Justice definitely has not been served, and we haven't seen a lot of progress.
Right.
So,
And just
kind of
to
a summary.
I'm sorry, Dr. Netta, but just for everybody who's watching, just to put you in the state of mind uh, back in 2019. Um, they had air, all their borders were closed. It was a state of emergency. I believe it was 3 months. It was a 3 month state of emergency that they had. No one was covering this. If you heard about it, you didn't hear that it was a massacre. You didn't hear of the thousands of people whose lives were taken away from you, the bodies thrown in the Nile River, children being shot. We talked about the pellet guns that they had that would shoot multiple rounds at one time, just to put it in your mind of what these young men and women were doing out there. And this originally started as a peaceful protest. I really want to stress that.
And
And just,
continued. Started, continued until they ousted al Bashir.
yes,
They were peacefully protesting, yet they still got shot, killed, and
Yeah,
yeah.
I would question though the idea that there is virtue only in peaceful protest. Hi. Anyway, um,
hi Justin.
hey, Emma, Dr. Netta, thank you for coming on as always. I've only heard the last few minutes, but as always, we love having you on, and your experience and your knowledge is always very welcome and useful in our discussion. But I mean, I understand the motivation and the desire to keep it peaceful, but to to refer to it as such and to still see the violence and to stand in the gap and accept violence, to me that doesn't seem peaceful. It seems like you are putting your life on the line. A friend
Right,
of mine, he passed away a few years ago. He called that incarnational protest. He himself was a Catholic. He was a deeply Catholic. He was a Catholic worker, and his idea was that, like, yes, you can be there in nonviolence, but even putting your life on the line, like, that's incarnational. That's a very powerful thing. So when you say nonviolence, sometimes a lot of people see that as, singing and chanting with candles, which is great. I love candles. I love singing. I love candles, but that's a real. Uh, there's danger. It's
right.
we see it and we saw it, and well, that's all.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dr. Netta, welcome. We're so glad you're here. I'm glad I'm finally here as well.
Thank you, Justin. And I appreciate those comments because I think when we make that analogy of peaceful protest, we're really speaking from the protesters' point of view. They went out there peacefully, intending to hold peaceful protests, but not about what happens to them. Because you're absolutely right. It's not peaceful at all. It was extremely violent. Yes, their intentions were peaceful, but the
Right.
protest did not end up peacefully. So we have to be very careful about how people interpret that.
Right. And then when it started was February the 19th. That's when Al Bashir declared a state of emergency and banned all unauthorized gatherings and gave security forces sweeping powers to squash protests. And that's when we saw the heartbreaking, the murder. That's when we saw, like Dr. Netta was saying, um, people were tied up. They had stones tied to them and thrown in the Nile. They were, it's just sad. And Ari, I know you weren't on our show in 2019, um, but we did. I want to say it was like maybe 2 months or maybe a month that we did on coverage on Sudan. And
It
I
was,
wish that you were there,
yeah.
no part of it, so you could hear. But I hope that you can get some information because a lot of the times, like we say this all the time on TSO Live Talk Show, the news does not give us everything. And that's one of the reasons why TSO is here. And at that time, February of 2019, no one talked about it. I didn't hear anything. Not the news, not BBC, not nothing. You rarely heard anything, and if you did hear, it was quick 5-10 seconds. Protests in Sudan end up deadly.
So basically, the people here in the U.S. will not informed with what
Right,
happening in Sudan, which
right,
makes you feel like, you either don't care about that region, or it's there is a reason to keep this hush hush. Or
right.
so knowledge is power.
It is.
So let's
And it
say that.
wasn't in the interest of certainly Trump at the time. I'd argue Biden as well, probably just because he would defend the national economic interests as well. And like Dr.
Yeah.
Netta, you were saying, like you have those regional interests. You have many U.S. interests too, and well, yeah, we are friendly with dictators if that furthers our goals and enriches us for sure. Like they had no problem.
Right.
The whole
I
world is like
wouldn't say
that.
fully allying, I guess, but being friendly, certainly being friendly enough to do trade and to look past any human rights abuses that were seen, you know, in
Right.
exchange for them looking past ours, probably. But it's another story.
So here we are, fast forward 2 years later. Um, and Dr. Nell, you did talk about some of the progress that we have seen happen as far as our friendships and different allies or things like that. But a part of me, like doing all the research that I did, which my video is almost complete, guys. It's not complete yet. But doing all the research that I did on Sudan, it didn't seem like there was any progress. And I don't want to take away that there is not any progress, but seeing the refrigerators full of people that were missing for so long and
And bodies
about
piled up.
it, just, I told myself I was not going to cry talking about this, but it really puts it in the forefront of your mind that we are still there. Like I'm not from Sudan, but it hit me as if I was there. And to hear the news that Hydir talked about last week's show, and seeing all the photos of the so many families and children, young children, 18, 19, 16-year-old children whose lives were cut short, I feel like we're still there.
Well, I don't mean to, you know, harken back, but I remember Hajir back 2 years ago. You predicted it. You said, "Just wait, they'll find them. Like there will be a day when they will find these people who were missing." At the time, we were able to say, perhaps they're in a camp somewhere, or maybe they are being detained. But you said, just wait a few years. Like you can't. You'll always. These will always be found eventually. So
There's not
I
such a thing as missing
mm,
to me. They're there, maybe just bodies, and I am all teared out. Like this has been so hard, especially Neda can attest to that. The Ramadan, the 29th of Ramadan, when it hit so close to home. Like you guys lived with us, both of you, at the during the sittings, and you got to see the faces of the kids and feel like you're there with them, even if you're not there in person. And then to know that they were missing. Recently, one of our Sudanese, I can call a friend, live here in Virginia. Her nephew is the 19 years old. You have his pictures, Maya.
Is it okay if I put it
He
up
was
there? I didn't
shot.
want
Yeah,
to put it
that's
up there.
Osman. And
Is it okay
then
if I put it up?
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes. The family are very well educated and they wanted justice for their son and all the others. But it's so sad, and I'll let you speak, Neda, about this, to find a young revolutionist. What Akar, you have his picture also. What
Yes. And
Akar,
before you continue, this picture was taken in
this is
2009.
Mudassir.
This was from this year?
No, this is his name is Mudassir.
Yes. But this picture was taken 2019, I believe, during the protests of 2019. And then I'm going to show the picture, and I just want to, for everybody who's watching, the pictures that we're going to show, I should have said this in the beginning, but the pictures that we're going to show are graphic, but these are the pictures that you need to see so that we can bring forth awareness. So this picture, Jared, I want to say his name wrong.
Mudassir.
Madisser. This was from 2019, doing a peaceful protest, and this is of him in 2021.
This is Ramadan. This is the 29th of Ramadan, like Neda said, the holy month. And I can't say Arni because it is too painful and recent to say that, but they were out asking for justice for the people that were killed in the sittings, like the massacre that happened. And there they are dead the same day, like the Memorial Day, or the day that the family of the fallen martyrs went out and demanded justice. Nida, go ahead and talk, please.
I think, I mean, it was a vivid reminder to anyone who was doubting what the youth were saying, that justice has not been served, and that the previous regime is everywhere and they're holding all the keys to everything in the government. So when they went out on the anniversary of that, they basically were asking for the same. We're asking for justice to be served, everyone to be held accountable. The two heads of government, Al Burhan and Hemeti, were involved in Darfur and were involved in the Syrian massacre, to be brought to justice, and saying basically we're not going to let go of what we've been asking for. You can do
Right.
all the other stuff that you said you've been doing, but that doesn't matter if you don't fulfill those three things. And they had a very emotional speech by the mothers of the martyrs after they had broken their fast. It was a beautiful event. It was broadcast live on many Facebook streams. And after the event ended, now the event is over. People are heading home. They're giving them back to the sit-in area where they had the memorial, and they were shot from the back while they were leaving. I mean, that what does that tell you? That tells you that basically we haven't really accomplished much,
لم
right?
تزغد بعد
Exactly,
ما
exactly.
صدقت.
And what Mudathir was holding there, that sign, it says "ما زلت على العهد," which translates loosely into "I'm still holding to what we promised, like our martyrs. We're gonna keep asking for. I'm holding onto that covenant." And basically, he's like, "I'm not gonna let go of my promise." That's what he was telling the world. And he was one of the ones who were shot. Basically, like, if you keep saying this, we're gonna get rid of you. That's the message that's been sent to the world. But I think what they don't realize is that this is not gonna make the youth any weaker. This is actually gonna strengthen their will. And every time I get disappointed and discouraged about what's
Yeah.
happening in Sudan, I just have to like listen to one of these youth talk, and I'm full with hope and courage, because I know our country is going to be in good hands. And if it's not tomorrow, if it's not next year, if it's not 5 years, 10, 20 years from now, we have people like these who went out on the street, willing to give their life and everything that they own for the country. I think we're going to be in good hands. And it's going to be a long road. I mean, this is a 30-year undoing of justice and everything that's good for humanity. So we understand it's going to be a long road, but there are priorities. And if those are not fulfilled, we're not going to be able to transition. And I think that's what people are frustrated about right now, because it seems like the transitional government is in a different place than the rest of the country is. And for a while, there was not a lot of sharing of information. There was not a lot of transparency about what's happening. I mean, it would be okay to come out and say, we're struggling. We're not able to get this done because the military is still holding power and this is happening and we're getting all this resistance. Because then the people are going to stand with them. They're going to support them. But we needed that transparency, and that has been missing. It's not until lately that some of that information has been trickling out. And now we're understanding what's happening, but it's a little too late because now people feel it in their everyday lives, in their sufferings, in losing their children, in losing their loved ones, in their bread and butter. The economy is in terrible shape, probably the worst it has been even compared to Bashir's time. I mean, at the time, people were calling this a protest of gas and bread, which was kind of offensive, to be honest, when I heard that. And that
Yeah.
was all international media was calling it a protest for gas and bread. And I went on NPR one time, and I almost like wanted to go off on the
Yeah.
even NPR. I'm like, you should know this is not gas and bread. You should stop calling it that.
Well,
This is a
you said NPR, so I've seen how they've covered many other stories, and it's not it's not accurately either. Oh, I remember the burning of the Notre Dame, and they were so much more focused on that than even the burning of the Amazon. They happened at about the same time, huge fires in both, and they choose really carefully how they portray things. So I have no doubt that they portrayed the Sudanese revolution just in that way.
Yeah, that
And
hurt
not
just
much
to
at all,
hear.
just like in a snippy way. Like, It's like there's nothing. It's much more than that.
Yeah. To hear the description, it hurt, especially if you know the facts. By the way, Maya, the picture you just posted before the Ahmed Classic, the photographer, there's a picture before that. That young lady is my sister. That's Nijat. Shout out to Nijat.
This
No,
one?
not this one. No, the one right before the last one. So, yep, this one. That's my sister. That's the one here in Philly. She's been in Sudan and she's been out every day protesting. She is sitting by the مستشفى التميز التميز I always say تميز التميز, the hospital where they found the bodies at the morgue. She's been, this is what, 50, is it day 59, Neda, I
Yes, today's
believe?
the
Close to
59th.
the, yeah. So for 59 days, she's out there with the young people. She's sitting, and shout out to Najat and all the people that are there every day, day in and day out. And like Neda said, I get like really like down when seeing this and not seeing progress. But listening to those young people, it gives you hope, just the same hope that we had. Remember when I was telling you in the beginning of the revolution that I waited all this time to see this happening, and I didn't expect it to happen in my lifetime, but it happened, and I'm hopeful that things will بيحصل تصليح مسار correction of the direction that this revolution is going towards.
So
So,
like that direction of direction.
so excuse me if you all covered this in the beginning segment, but I'm pretty interested. Arya, you weren't here for the other shows. Like, what did you hear just in your life about the Sudanese revolution? And I'm saying this as someone who's pretty well informed generally about things around the world. Like, what did you hear? I think it's
Yeah.
interesting to hear it from one
No,
outside.
absolutely nothing. And my silence here isn't,
No,
because of concern. It's literally disbelief, because it is unbelievable that this isn't something that I've ever heard about. And I, tend to find myself really well informed, like you said, about certain topics, especially political views and all of that stuff, even ones that are outside of the US. So to have never heard anything about this ever is unbelievable. Like,
that's.
but I think that
I say that's really disappointing. I don't mean in you. I just mean in
absolutely.
the
It's very
news and even independent sources like us. And I think we do what we can, but there's got to be other people too. Like, we gotta.
And this is what I was saying.
It was just
earlier.
you guys, I can tell you. You and Dr. Neda. Like us. I don't remember I ran into any news station or any like talk show at that time that covering it. And that's why TSO will always be like right here.
Yeah, actually, Hajar remembers this probably vividly. She and I were on the media committee
Yeah.
of organizing the march in Washington, D.C. in
Yep.
February 2019. There was this massive march where Sudanese came from all over the country, from California, drove all the way from Iowa to D.C. to participate in this demonstration. And there were thousands on the street in front of Capitol Hill and the march to the White House. And we were in this media committee reaching out to every single news agency under the sun and saying, this is happening. We had a few journalists, these journalists, who helped us write a press release, and we sent it over to everyone we can. We called many other news agencies personally, especially the local ones, and said, this is happening and we need you there to cover it. And we were pretty surprised that there was nothing. There were two, probably, or three Arabic news agencies that came out to cover some of it. But other than that, there was not really much coverage at all. And people were like looking at these thousands of people, why are they gathered here? And clearly they were angry and shouting. And we covered it ourselves on Facebook. That's the only thing we could get. But other than that, and you probably guys talked about it, there was not really much attention from the media. It wasn't until that I think the only time I've seen media attention was the photo of the Sudanese girl who was shouting on top of the pickup truck. That was
look cute because it looked cute. It fit what they're looking for. Don't even show it, Maya, if you
I
have
don't have no, I don't have it.
it.
Yeah, and yes,
Like,
it's like nothing against her because she
no.
became a picture of.
Well, I have something against her because she broke on the ihtisam in her college. She was not. She was there just dressed. I'm not bashing anyone down, but people who are actually walking and marching and don't come wearing high heels and white dress and do all that. I'm not. This is my personal opinion, but I know during college people were what do you call it, protesting and not going to classes
Right.
and refusing to
The
do that to just
sit-ins,
show,
maybe.
yep, settings and to just show. And she wasn't doing any of that. She was doing the opposite, and that's not something, I'm just saying. So the media just grabbed whatever looks cute to them and run with it as, but it give attention. So to look at it in another angle, I'm trying to be positive. You give attention, but attention to, oh, there are women doing this or fighting in front of, but they didn't talk about the killing. They didn't talk about anything. And I'm sure you know, Maya and Justin knew, but Neda, you know, when we were going, I don't remember how many times we had meeting with Congress. Like I drove
Mhm.
from here many times. We sat, we bled to them. We asked them to do tweets. We only had two. We met with all Congress,
That's
Republican,
yeah.
Democrat.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I remember that. Like you and a delegation of people, like you in
Yeah.
DC, like you visited the Capitol and you met with
I mean,
representatives of the Senate.
some good came out of it. We had
Yeah.
a revolution passed and all of that, but they, couple of them just tweeted and we blew our own horn. We start tweeting and showing, oh, we met with Congress and we're hoping,
Right.
and some things came out of this at the end, but not what I was hoping for, to put like Sudan in the front, the media, and to apply pressure so those young protester revolutionists won't die. So our main hope was for them to just be able to protest peacefully, whether they out al-Bashir or not, you know. But we didn't want anyone to get hurt in the process.
Right. And this was a very long process, and we're still in that journey. Um, and it's really hard. One of the hardest projects I ever did was making this video for you guys and putting all the information that I found, all the pictures, all the videos, because you really got to sit there and watch it.
She didn't sleep, I can tell you that,
It
because
was
she
it,
got me up until like almost 1 o'clock one day. I'm like, Maya, I seen this. I cried over this. I don't want to see it again. I want to sleep. She's like, I can't sleep. I can't.
I'm doing it because
That's why I love you.
we talked about it in 2019. We did a couple of segments on it in 2019, and here we are in 2021, and we're still where we at. Justin, why are you looking at my kid picture like that?
No, he's looking
Yeah.
at the. He heard the horn.
I muted it. Someone was blowing a horn outside, so I muted
Oh,
my mic and I stared at the
I said
window
we do
annoyedly.
that now, but that's why I was
No,
saying.
it's you, Maya. It's all you.
We
No.
we've lost so many people, and like I said earlier, a lot of them have been children, teens, mothers, fathers, brothers, uncles. You know, somebody's family, and we've lost them. And I don't want people to think like, okay, we're just going to talk about it and we're just going to, educate people. I really want you to go home and do the research yourself. Read read the stories. Look at the pictures. Watch the videos. You may not understand what they are saying in those videos, but you'll feel it. You'll definitely feel it. And the heartbreak that these men and women have to endure, that they've been enduring since the 1980s. They have been asking for the same thing since the 1980s: freedom, peace, and justice. And just like I said last week, and we're here in the United States mad because we have to wear a mask to go to the Walmart. We really need to take ourselves out of our daily routine and see what our brothers and sisters overseas are going through every day.
And I think it would be a really interesting discussion to have, not on today's show, especially since we don't have too long left, but what America would do if faced with this degree of oppression and genocide. I know we say we do sometimes, but we're not to that degree. But
Right.
I don't know. Would we have that solidarity to rise up like the people of Sudan?
No.
That's
No.
not yet, certainly.
I answer that question for you right now. We will not.
Okay. We don't have to have a show.
Oh, and we could definitely talk about it.
Okay.
We could briefly talk about it. There's no way that we would have that. We don't even have solidarity on what's happening with COVID-19.
Yeah. True.
Maybe if we had to go to war with COVID-19 with missiles,
we haven't even got over racism. Like we're still trying to work that out. We don't have. I'm sorry to say this, but we don't have the drive and the heart that the Sudanese people have. Because when you go through years, and when I say years, and
Never a doubt.
of pain and sorrow, and you have to see your friends in the streets, the doctors who helped your cousin or your mom, you see their bodies laying in the streets, or you see the kids who are not going to school or doing sit-ins because they want to protest for freedom, peace, and justice. Like until you go through those types of things, you won't have that drive. You won't give up. Your journey will still continue, just like this young man's. His journey was still there, and no matter what, until the very end, he was out there. We're not there yet.
But the Sudanese revolution, what do you call it? Inspired, right, Neda? Inspired other, and the way they were doing, even burning the tires and chanting and doing some beautiful sittings. It inspired many people, even here in the U.S. during the George Floyd. What would you say, Neda?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I agree with Maya to some extent that we're not there. But I really do hope that we don't have to go through everything that Sudan had gone through to get there. And I mean, we came to this country for a reason, right? And we flew Sudan because we saw this country as a country of freedom, the country of justice, the country of peace. We came chasing this American dream that somebody described as a nightmare once I got here. And I mean, I wouldn't go to that extent because it's definitely better than what al-Bashir did to Sudan.
Yeah.
But in the past 4 years made all of us doubt the integrity of that freedom and peace and justice in this country. And I think it's going to take a lot of us to heal from that. And I do really feel and believe the movement that has happened after George Floyd is going to lay the ground for a much stronger foundation for this country. We really needed that shock. We needed that earthquake to tell us, hey, the foundation is very weak and you need to start rebuilding again. So I think
also to see that blowback, I think that was a nice reminder that there is that segment of people who are that opposed to social justice in terms of race, and I mean class, etc., but especially George Floyd in terms of race. So that's a good gauge too. Like, yeah, it brought out people all around, people who they're like, oh, well, all lives matter, in a way that declared that all lives didn't matter. Right. And you have the people who will say Black Lives Matter, even, though they themselves are not. I don't say that's this crazy, ridiculous thing. I'm saying, of course, Black Lives Matter, and we should say it all the time. And it painted a whole picture. It really brought a lot of things to the forefront.
And I don't want anybody, watching this to think that I'm taking away from the progress, because that's how I see it, of what happened, with George Floyd. I just don't believe that we are
there yet.
Yeah, we're just not there. And just like Dr. Netta said, I hope we don't ever see it. But talking about this should put in your mind, like, what if? Because that is a great question.
The thing is, Maya, unfortunately, there is a segment of the American society who's going through what Sudan has been going through and is going through it right now. And it's just not being, the same thing with the media. It's just not being broadcasted. People don't know about it. How many times you open the local news and you see a black man face a mugshot talking about him doing something, is that like, it's not genetic. That doesn't happen in our genes. That
Yeah.
happens because of the oppression, because of the injustice, because of the systemic racism, because of all of the things that this country did to the black people. That's why we're seeing this. Nobody questions that. They just scroll through it and keep going because the media is
Right.
portraying this constant image of young black men being whatever they are. And it's basically building that background subconscious thinking that it's okay, if the police kills them, yeah, they're bad anyway, so that happen.
Yeah.
So that's what we really need to undo now with these types of shows, and people like TSOs, uh, hosts who go out there and try to shake that foundation that's really weak and kind of show people the clear picture of what's happening. And I'm really glad that you guys are continuing to send that message that it's not okay. We're not there yet. We're absolutely not. But we'll get there with insistence, just like the Sudanese people.
And we will continue. We will continue with our Sudanese brothers and sisters. We will continue to protest, even though we're not there. Protest by talking about it, educating everybody about it. And let me tell you this: like I said in 2019, you're gonna get tired of seeing this and hearing it. But until we see progress, until we see change, until we see everyone talking about it, this is something that we, and when I say me, we, I mean Justin, Hygier, Aria, myself, Azalea, everybody, Dr. Netta, we are going to talk about it.
I think also you got to take, and I know it's not a permanent victory, but you have to take joy in the small wins as well. The fall of al Bashir was not a small thing. You got to take joy and solace in that. No, the fight is not over. It's nowhere close, but that was big. That was really big, and you can't look past that as a seminal event. But of course, the fight's not over. So I see what you're saying. Like, there's not like pure progress, but I don't know. It's also not. It's never linear, though, is it? Like, it seems like you can get gains in one place, losses in another, and then gains in that other place and losses in another. And I don't know. I think the fall of all this year was huge, though, regardless.
It was. It was really huge. And what I can tell everybody, I know we're out of time, and we started late in the show, but we will. This is going to be something that we're going to continue to talk about. We're really going to go into depth next week about beginning from the end. All my research that I did from the 1980s, we're really going to go in depth and talk about what happened. But we started a little late because of some things happening, but we're going to continue to talk about it. Dr. Netta, we love you so much, and we are excited to have somebody, you too, Hygeria, who is going through the process that can educate us and help us to be aware of what's happening. Because, like I say every show, we take things for granted all the time. We go to work, we wake up, we don't have to worry about nobody shooting in our backyard. Well, you know what I'm trying to say. We
Yeah.
don't have to. We don't have to
Yeah, I was
worry
gonna
about it.
say.
We see it. We
Not,
see what
not not in the extent that
Right.
happening in Sudan.
Right.
Yeah,
We
for sure.
we just
For
take a
sure.
lot of things for granted, and being able to talk about it and have Dr. Netta, your wisdom, and Hygeria, yours, and really share this with people, and then to do the research ourselves and to see it. There's no greater satisfaction than educating yourself on what's happening.
So for next week or whenever we do another show on the progress of the Sudanese revolution,
Yes.
just I myself am going to look as well, just like if there are any good documentaries or like good intro primers. I
There
will always
is.
recommend TSO, our segment a few years ago. That's a pretty good intro
Yes.
/ primer.
You can go on Facebook. If you go on our Facebook page, there's actually a search bar. You can actually hit the search bar and then type in Sudan, and then all of our shows where we mention Sudan actually popped up. I just learned this, so exciting! So go back and watch those. Also, if you go on YouTube and type in Sudan Revolution, there are 13 different videos started from the 1980s that you can go and watch. Some of them are not in English, but you can kind of
Learn Arabic.
understand what they're saying.
Yeah, learn Arabic
Learn it.
or call me. I'll
And
translate.
slap
I
it.
kind of understand, or I think I understand. Some of them have subtitles, but go on there, go on YouTube, and educate yourself on what's happening. And this is, like I said, we're going to continue this show and talk about what's happening overseas. And this is going to be the hub where you're going to get that information from. Okay. So, Dr. Netta, thank you so much for being a part of our show. I apologize for starting a little later in the show. And Justin, Hygeer, and Aria, thank you so much for being a part of the TSO. And to all of our guests, everybody who liked, shared, and comment, we appreciate you guys. And we're on this journey with you. If you're watching this in Sudan, which I know you are totally watching us right now, you're
They
watching
are.
us, then please, 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 if you would like to be a part of the show, send us an email. Definitely let Hygeer know, Dr. Netta. I'm sure she could get to us. But let us know, because we want to tell your story. And we want to inform and educate other people on what's happening in your neck of the woods, okay? So thank you guys so much for being a part of the show. We love you guys, and we'll see you guys next Monday.
Love you all. Thank
Love
you
you,
so much.
Neda.
Bye.
Thank you.